Bullying and abuse are the same thing. They operate in the same way, they affect individuals and adults and children in the same way, and the fact that many schools, so-called zero-tolerance policies, do little more than lip service to students and parents who are dealing with bullied, rather abused children, makes our society's response to bullying that much more deplorable. At a time in a child's life when they are developing and growing, they are allowed to be exposed to an onslaught of attacks on their self-worth and sense of belonging. More needs to be done. Let's start by categorizing bullying as what it is: acceptable abuse. We often tell abused people to leave their abuser, to get as far away as they can as possible and to cut contact to prevent further damage. Bullied children, however, are encouraged to go back to school every day where they experience their abuse and ignore or find ways to prevent it. And if they can't, they must simply put their head down and tolerate it until they graduate. Can you see what's wrong with this? The issue is that our system encourages and perpetuates bullying. And until we deal with the system itself and its effect on us, we can expect this kind of toxic school and work environment to continue. That system and what it births and why is what I want to focus on today. We all know our system is broken. I don't want to exhaust too much time on it because what matters to me more is how that system, how all of this has affected you. If you have been bullied by school peers, by family, by people you thought were friends, I am so sorry. Number one, that we live in a society that has failed you and allowed that to happen to you. Some of you may be able to pinpoint accurately how being bullied at varying degrees of severity affects you today, or others like myself might only see its effects much later down the line after it's uncovered. What I want all of us to acknowledge is that if you have experienced bullying, it shouldn't be minimized. What you experienced was and is abuse. It is a topic that isn't discussed enough. Children can abuse other children. Whether they're cognizant enough to know the effects of what they're doing, it doesn't mean it still doesn't do harm. Our society is set up to create and exploit our insecurities. Continually, all around us is the narrative that we are not enough, that we aren't skinny or curvy enough, not petite or tall enough, not strong enough, that we are eating the wrong foods while wearing the wrong clothes, jewelry, perfume and cologne, living in the wrong country or continent, and would be happier elsewhere with someone else being someone else. Being anything other than just you. It's a heady mix of both control and marketing. If you're never satisfied, you're easier to control because there will always be someone there to offer you an alternative plan in exchange for your loyalty and a company to sell you the solution to your problems, especially the problems you didn't know you had, in the form of a product that always runs out and never quite delivers the promised cure. What this does is create the worldwide belief that none of us are good enough, that in a crowd there will always be someone who is not enough, and your job is to avoid being that person and to spot who is, who doesn't quite fit into the acceptable form we're all trying to be. Because if you can find who that person is, that means that thank God it isn't you. And you had better try your hardest to make sure it's never you, or else you're not worthy. Worthy of what exactly? Respect, attention, time, patience, kindness, love? This is a wildly accepted notion whether it's acknowledged or not, but many of us don't take the time to ask, who decided that and why do we agree? Which is why systems like ours thrive unchecked for centuries, why children, teenagers, adults can treat others cruelly because of this wildly held belief that there are just some people who don't deserve the basics of human respect and civility, the unworthy. Being treated like you're lesser than, not worthy of the same respect or civility as your peers, opens up the gateway to toxic shame and self-hatred. What is it about me? Is the sort of questions kids ask themselves, especially when they're not yet clued into the toxic and contradictory system they're operating in, that is broken, not them. What is wrong with me? The bullied and abused child asks, because this is the only logical line of inquiry they have: self-blame. Because the notion of an overarching and pervasive system of ignorance, cruelty, and man-made hierarchy working against them is first, not something they're even aware of, and second, is hidden from them. So all they have is their awareness, is themselves, and what they are going through, their only frame of reference, and discerning that their presence is the common denominator in their mistreatment and abuse, they blame themselves. And once again, as we discussed in detail in episode 4, Why Don't We Love Ourselves?, the false self and the true self splinter further apart, because it becomes unsafe to be your true self, because that makes you vulnerable to rejection. Do you know what very specific and distinct thing this kind of isolation makes you feel? Shame. To anyone who has been bullied or shamed, whether by their peers, family, or even just by society as a whole, the constant media messaging and pressure, I say this with everything I have in me. There was and is nothing wrong with you. No personality, style, family background, ethnicity, hobbies, appearance, attraction, financial status, etc., that should ever give anyone the right to treat you as if you are less than. To treat you as though you don't deserve kindness and respect. Please see that anyone who thought the opposite of that was the problem, not you. As you're here and trying to overcome this, trying to be countercultural and choosing to love yourself, truly love yourself, you're going to need the following tools. First, to accept and internalize the truth that shaming yourself does not produce healthy or lasting change, nor will it ever make you feel better or love yourself in the long run. And the only thing that is going to help you begin to fight against this is first, awareness. And after you've established awareness, your next key to freedom is authenticity. Awareness of how the people and system around you influence how you view yourself and how it and the way you have been treated affect you on a daily basis. Authenticity is often misunderstood to mean being down to earth or refreshingly likable in your honesty and conduct with others. But authenticity is not about likability. It is about being real to you, acknowledging the truth of your own experiences and feelings, being honest with yourself and sometimes others, responding to your impulses and acting on them in a way that honors your true self. Brené Brown calls this process developing shame resilience, because you will feel shame. It's a very human experience. I'd even say it's a biological process because it's based in that natural, nature-given need for connection, but you can develop resilience to that shame, to know that shame is not productive but destructive, isn't helpful to you and is always, always a bad thing. This doesn't mean shirking self-responsibility. Feeling guilty for an action and behavior can inspire you to choose differently next time, so that's fine, but shame sticks you in a pit of self-hate and despair and doesn't accomplish anything for anyone, certainly not for yourself. And we're trying to love ourselves here, so let's let that go. If shame flourishes in disconnection, it withers in healthy connection. Nothing unravels shame better than connection, as simple as talking it out with someone else. Owning your feelings of shame is always owning your experience of it, owning your story, sharing. This is why it's so important for me to talk about things like bullying, universal experiences that get ignored or minimized. Brown writes that the culture of shame is driven by fear, blame, and disconnection, and it is often a powerful incubator for issues like perfectionism, stereotyping, gossiping, and addiction. When you practice courage and speak that shame, your experiences, shame loses its power because you prove that what it tells you is false. You need connection, and when your experience of connection to others has been damaged by bullying, by abuse, when you have felt disconnected and misunderstood from others for a long time, when you struggle to trust, what you need is an experience of healthy, productive, and honest connection. Connection that is based in authenticity. Being yourself, being honest, not pretending. I encourage you to find a place and people that you can openly share your authentic experiences with, where they will validate and welcome you, because when you do, and see that others have also been through what you've been through, or felt how you felt, that seeing the real you doesn't make people run away from you, but instead convene with you in your truth. That is a deeply healing experience that untangles the web of shame and isolation around you.